Okay, I think we can make a start properly. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. You're all welcome to today's session, which we are very lucky to have Buki with us today. I know she's very busy. So, and she's a friend on LinkedIn, and I felt what she does will be beneficial to every one of us as we are in workplace, or some of us that are still aspiring, particularly in this Western world. We need to achieve the best of our potentials, and that is why somebody like herself is in best position to help us, because target in life in these communities to help people of our color or of our background in achieving the best of their potentials. So without any further ado, I want to introduce to you Buki, the CEO of Citadel Insights, a company who is into coaching, and she has done this for many people. And today we want to tap into that knowledge and see how we can enjoy our service as well. So I'll pass on the baton to you to continue. Take it from there.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Saeed. Thank you for having me. Welcome, everyone, again. So I am Buki Ishola. So I'm the founder of Citadel Coaching, and Citadel Coaching is a coaching company where we focus on helping professionals to thrive in their careers. So we do leadership coaching, career coaching, and life coaching, really helping people to move up the career ladder and find fulfillment in life. So today we're going to be talking about realizing your career potential. And I think I'll just talk. So more about me. So as Saeed was alluding to, really, I focus on working with African diaspora professionals. So I have clients from, all over the world, really North America, from the Middle East, UK, as I'm based in the UK, and wider Europe. And it's really about, people becoming their best self at home, work, and in life. So prior to coaching, I didn't start off life as a coach. But I have been coaching full time for the last 5 years. Prior to that, I had a corporate career where I worked for 15 years, and I'm a trained accountant, chartered accountant, specifically focused on tax. But now I have transitioned to coaching, and I do this full time, like I say. So this is our agenda today. Let me share that with you so you know what we're going to be talking about. Share screen too. Right. So we're really going to be looking at 3 areas. So principles for career advancement. So you want to make sure that we're taking the right approach in positioning ourselves for progress in the workplace, in Western workplaces, and then really positioning for bigger opportunities. And finally, which is really around creating your own luck, right? We throw out these words of luck, but we don't want to be waiting for luck. We want to be strategically taking steps that create luck for us. And then finally, when you land on these opportunities, how do you actually convert them, right? We don't want anything getting in the way of you turning your opportunities for success. You don't want to get anything getting in the way of you converting that. If you have any questions, please feel free to raise your hand or put it in the chat, and I'm sure Saeed will draw my attention to it. And if you're joining us as well, there is a workbook that you can download to really help you as we go through this. So a little bit more about coaching, because sometimes people don't really know what coaching is. And I like to say that coaching helps you in 3 areas, right? There are 3 things. And rather than describing what coaching is, more important for you to know how we could impact you. And I said the first thing is like coaching really helps you to untangle your thinking, right? And so a lot of us, sometimes we're stuck because we don't know what the next step is. We don't know what the right step is. We don't know what to do, and people can be in limbo, right? So one of the ways that one of the benefits of coaching is that it helps you really get to understand what your priorities are and how you need to go ahead and make the decisions, whatever is in front of you, decisions you need to make. And the second thing is it really raises your self-awareness and awareness of your situation. We become aware of what's holding us back that we do not know, right? In all of us, we can self-sabotage when we are not conscious to the things that are driving our careers. There's a famous phrase that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will drive your life and you will call it fate. Right? For example, people can be going to interview over and over again and not getting through. And they just think, oh, it's bad luck. Whereas the real issue is just lack of interviewing skills, right? So it's really becoming aware of what's holding you back. So if you had someone to give you a mock interview or to listen to you interview like a coach, they might be able to tell where you're going wrong and then give you tips on how you could improve. So that's also another way is it might be things around mindset, our beliefs, our attitude, not knowing the way how. So there's so many ways we can hold ourselves back unconsciously, and coaching can uncover that for you. And if you untangle your thinking, you get your mindset right, you know what to do. Importantly is also to do it, right? Sometimes, if we all did what we need to do, we would be further ahead than we are, right? We don't always do what we know to do. So coaching really helps you to take action. And what I would do in this session is actually bring in some of the principles that I use to coach people to help you move forward from wherever you are. So I would encourage you, if you don't have a pen and paper, get a pen and paper. So as we get along, or however way you're taking notes, you are actually taking notes that could help you. I will pose questions to you, and those questions can really help you move forward. The focus of today, we're talking about potential. So the focus is really becoming who we're capable of. It's about becoming whole that we are capable of becoming. That's the focus. So as we get started, I'm going to, again, if you're just joining, there should be a workbook that you can follow along if you wanted to use to take notes. It's freely editable, so you may use it. So we're talking about potential, realizing your career potential. So let me ask you, please, and let me say this, let's make this interactive. Drop your comments. And if I'm asking questions, please participate, because you will get more out of it when you do this. Right. So what is potential? Let someone describe that, or how would you define it? What is potential? All right. We will share. What is your potential? What is your potential? How do you define your potential? Okay, feel free to unmute if anyone wants to unmute to share.
I think we have a shy audience today.
Okay.
What is happening?
Okay. Okay, well, let someone say something. Okay, we will move forward. Let someone say something. They'll type in the chat. What is your potential? And the other question I was going to ask is, who determines your potential? Because this requires your participation. This is not passive listening. It's what you're capable of achieving.
Good. Somebody has typed for you in the chat.
Yes, I can see that. Thank you, Olatunji. Yeah. Potential is what you're capable of achieving if you haven't achieved it. Yes. So the thing is, key thing about potential is it's not reality, right? It's not reality. It's what is possible, who you're capable of becoming, and what you can do and achieve. That's what we mean by potential. And the following question is, who determines your potential? Who determines your potential? Because that is really important. We're here. If you're joining this call, on this Saturday evening, you're someone that cares about career. You're someone that cares about where you want to get to. So what's going to help you get there is going to be, there's something you're aiming for. Whatever it is that you're aiming for now, it lives in the realm of potential. So who determines your potential? Let's get some comments again. Feel free to unmute. Who determines your potential? Because it's really important for us to think about this and shape our mindset. Yeah. Thank you, Samson. The individual determines his or her own potential. That is exactly right. Right. So we cannot afford to vacate the driver's seat. No one is going to take your place. And this is my firm belief. This is my firm belief. We all have the potential to become as great as we want to, right? The seed of greatness is in everyone. If you're Nigerian, you know the common things that we hear when you were growing up, like, if someone is doing better than you, your parents might say, does that person have two heads? That sort of thing. Because the reality is everybody has a seed of greatness, but it is then, okay, how is that developed? And yes, I know Latin says the environmental factors that can that does play a role, but ultimately you will see you have two individuals that grew up that have the same set of circumstances. One person will thrive and the other person doesn't thrive. So yes, environment matters, but the individual can do a lot. They can do a lot to overcome the limitations on the environment. Now, if you have someone that is quite from a privileged background and someone that's from a less privileged background, it just happens that if you're from a less privileged background, you may need to work harder. You may have to, go through, make greater sacrifices to get to someone that has to get to the place where someone with more privilege would get to easier. But such is life, right? We have to deal with the cards we're dealt. So if you're someone that's just relocated into the country and you're trying to break into the corporate system in the UK, yes, you can expect it that it might be tough. It might be tough, and there will be a level of relentlessness from you in order to break through. It's not a case of, if it doesn't happen, I'm going to give up or I'm going to settle. You can't afford to do that. You have to set your mind on what it is you want and be relentless to achieve that. So moving on, we're going to move on to talk through some key principles that is really essential if we are going to realize our potential. Any questions so far? If you have any questions, just drop it in the chat and I will address it. Right. So 3 principles to set your professional journey on an upward trajectory. That's how I call it. So number 1, a very important principle is that you really need to know what you want. And sometimes this really holds people back. If you're not clear on what you want, I'm sure you had the example. If you're not clear on what you want, one thing I say, I know there are a few people that maybe they're fairly new to the country, you're still trying to break in. If you come into the UK and you're not very clear on the destination you want to get to, it's very easy to be diverted to other things, where you just take the first job that you get, and if it's not the right one, if you're not mindful, if you just end up in that job for a long time, that makes it even more difficult for you to switch. So know what you want. That is the first principle. Always see yourself as a moving bus. Where is the destination? Every bus, if you live in London or any part of the world, every bus will have the destination where it's going to. So I want to invite you now as well. Consider from wherever you are now, where is your ultimate destination? When you're thinking about your career, what is your ultimate destination? Sometimes I ask people to think about when you are living corporate life. I don't know, whenever it is you want to retire from corporate life, what do you want to have achieved by the time you leave? And there are people who they want to live corporate life in 5 years' time, 10 years, or maybe it's when they're 60. But whatever it is, what's your vision of what you want to achieve? Because that will drive your behavior, or that should be driving your behavior. You should be driving what you're investing in at this moment. So get a pen or take some notes and just answer that question. What is your ultimate destination? And a follow-on question is, if you have a picture of your ultimate destination in mind, then what is the next stop, right? Again, if you're on a bus, the bus usually doesn't just go from point A to the destination. There are multiple stops on the way. And that's really going to be how our careers evolve as well. So think about, what is your next stop on this journey? Is there a promotion that you need to be going for, right? Maybe it's actually just breaking through. For some people, okay, it's actually putting together a decent CV that opens the door for you. Other people's, maybe you have the right CVs, your CVs is getting you interviews, but you're not getting through interviews. So your next step in that case is just cracking interviews, understanding, knowing how to interview well. So think about what's your next stop now. And I think if you've written the answers to those two questions, as I go through the rest of the session, what I share, let it inspire you to map out the journey to how you might actually get to whatever next stop that you have written down. Because that's the whole idea. We want to make it live. We want to make it experiential so that you're not just listening to theory, right? Okay. Any questions? Put it in the chat. So who wants to share what their destination is and what their next stop is? If you'd like to share, that would be good. So do share in the chat. So principle number 2, I'm going to go through 3 principles. Principle number 2 is know the game. Know the game. You want to have an understanding of, you have to have an understanding of how things work. I'm sure Saeed is helping, as told you, members of the community where we're coming from in Africa, we're very, very big, isn't it? Very big on qualifications. And you have multiple qualifications. And the UK is really around the experience. There's a lot of emphasis on your communication skills. There's a lot of emphasis on how you present yourself, right? So it's not just about the technical skills. You can have all the certificates, but if you sit in front of an interviewer and they're not convinced that they are going to feel comfortable having you represent their team or having you present to a client, all of that, that's going to hinder your ability to succeed, even though you may be technically strong. So know the game, have an understanding of how things work, know what is valued, know what is regarded, because that then really helps you to position yourself correctly. It's Francis, can you mute, please? Yeah. Okay. So for example, I run a coaching business. It's very important for me to understand how to win. Not just how to win in business, but how to win in the coaching business. So many people here are IT professionals. You work in the cybersecurity. I mean, there are rules of the game for every industry. How are you going to thrive? How are you going to demonstrate your value? That is really important. So in terms of action points around here, another question I have for you is, now that if you did the earlier question where think about your ultimate destination, think about your next stop, I also want you to think about who is operating at that level already, right? If there's a senior, if there's a next level role that you're desiring at work, who is operating at that level? And if you don't have any examples around you of people who are at whether the next level or the ultimate destination, I encourage you to actually find people. Go on LinkedIn. If your ultimate goal is to become, I don't know, is it CSO, Chief Security Officer? I don't know what you would what it is in the cyber, or CIO. If you have that, if you have that goal, well, understand, how do people get to the role of CIO? What are some of the experiences and the exposure that they have? Because what that does is then that really helps to start informing your own approach. So, and the final principle, still looking about the principles for realizing our potential. Number 3 is focus, right? If you talk about number 1, you have to know what you want, and that is really important. It's obvious, but as a coach, I speak to so many people who are not sure what they want. They are confused. There are many paths they could take, and they haven't done the work to realize which is the path for them, right? Or not just realizing which is the path for them, but actually settle down and stay on that path enough so that they can create success out of it. So the third principle is focus. Maybe you're trying to break into cybersecurity, you're trying to do project management, and you have multiple things going on, right? You have multiple things going on. So your focus is diluted. And with the diluted focus also means your impact will be diluted. So really important that you focus. That is the third principle. And what do you need to focus on? You need to focus on what we defined in 1 and 2. You need to focus on what you want, and you need to focus on understanding the game plan, how to achieve that. Okay, so who is with me? If you're following what I'm saying, just put a Y in the chat so I know that you're there. The chat is quiet. If you're following me, put a Y. If you have any questions, please put it in the chat. We're going to go on to talk about positioning yourself for what you want. Well, let's pause and get some feedback. Are you with me? Yes? No? Why? Thank you, Kende. Kende is listening. Anyone else? And this, yes. Okay. Okay. Your brother wants to share. I think it'll be good to get some shares. Anyone want to share on what they came up with in the first section where we talked about thinking about your ultimate destination? This is a bit where you have to really dream. And I work a lot with like over 90% of my clients are Africans, like not just Nigerians, but Kenyans, Zimbabweans. Like I work with many people from different countries in Africa. And one of the things I always encourage people is, we come to the UK for greener pastures, right? We relocate. Very important. If you're someone that you were driven where you're coming from, you had ambitions to go all the way in your career. If you get to the UK, well, don't dumb down your ambitions, right? But it's just that you're gonna have to learn. You have a lot to learn, right? Because how it might have happened where you're coming from will be different to how it happens here because of the different system, and you're new to the system. And there's extra work, but it's important to hold on to possibility and not dumb down what is possible for you. That you have to stay committed. You just have to know what it takes. Really, really know what it takes, and put yourself in the right environment with the right people that can empower and make it possible for you. So, positioning for success is all around how do you position to realize your potential. This has to do with it has to do with who you're being and what you're doing. Who you're being and what you're doing. Okay, so for anyone else that has joined as well, if you want to see what I'm just going to post that again in the chat, if you want to follow the workbook. So positioning who you're being, like I said, positioning on the second part now, positioning to realize your potential. The number one position that you have to take, especially in this Western economy, is don't just see yourself as owning a job, right? And you want to be doing this even through the interviews and how you're interviewing. You have to see yourself as a problem solver, right? You are employed to solve problems, right? If there was no problem to solve, you wouldn't have a job. But sometimes we can gain and just see it as a job. But it's really important to have that mindset of problem solving. So you want to be known as a person that gets things done at work, right? And it doesn't matter what level you had, whether you're junior, you're more, or you're more senior. Another thing is you have to position yourself to solve the most important, relevant, and urgent problems in your teams. Why? Because that is what will get the attention of your leaders. Leaders are usually focused on, they're focused on the big issue. So you want to focus on, you also want to be there solving the things that are relevant to them, right? So think about, if you're just at work, at your desk, head down working, yes, that's good. You do have to deliver. But if you're, if you're familiar with the UK system, you also know, not just the UK, the Western system in general, that visibility is important. You're doing the work, but people also have to see the impact of the work, right? You have to take steps to make sure the work is visible. And one of the ways, not that you're going around talking about your work, but one of the ways that you can actually engineer visibility for yourself is to get yourself working on the most important, most relevant, and urgent problems, because leaders would usually have their eyes on those. And also that you are speaking up, right? And this is another thing that can hold us back. If our confidence is not in the right place, then we're not as vocal. If we haven't done enough work around our own sense of identity, being proud of who we are. Some of us can even go into the workplace and you're so conscious of your accent, how you sound, that you don't share enough of what you know. And that then means that your impact is not felt enough. Okay? You have to realize that you are a problem solver, and it's important that you demonstrate that. And I always say the bigger the problem you solve, the more reward, right? There's a reason why as you go up the ladder, the salary increases, right? Why is that? Because they're solving bigger problems. It's harder to replace someone at the top than someone at the lower rungs of the ladder. So enable yourself to solve bigger problems, to solve more complicated problems, and to get better and more efficient at it. One of my someone I knew recently they had challenges in they worked in the IT sector as well. They had challenges because they were taking too long to solve problems, and their manager needed more out of them. And eventually they actually lost their job because they couldn't deal with the slowness, right? So it's not just really realizing that you are there to solve problems and need to do it quickly. Is this resonating? Yes or no? Why? Yes or no? Let me know why in the chat so I know that you are with me. So if you're currently employed, I want you to think about work and think about some of the bigger problems of work that you could volunteer to tackle, right? That will raise your profile. And if you're not currently engaged and you're in the process of looking for work, think about your CV and think about the information, the stories that you share at interviews. Are you sharing the stories that show that you have tackled the sort of problems that you might be facing in the role that you're going into? Because having those examples is really going to position you well. So number two, in terms of, the first thing when it comes to positioning, to realize your potential is really, be a problem solver. The second one is be an excellent value add, right? So it's one thing to solve problems, and another thing for nobody to actually want you or to leave a bad taste in people's mouth after you've worked for them. Okay, so it's not just what you do, it's how you do it. Making sure that we're leaving a sweet taste in people's mouth. I'm sure you've come across people who they do a very good job, but you really don't want to work with them, right? Maybe it's their attitude, maybe it's their negativity, or there's just so much drama around them. It could be so much. It's very important that you not only have the skills that are appreciated, but also the way you work, the way you demonstrate those skills that actually draw people near you. And in the UK, it's a relationship, it's a service-based system. So relationships matter a lot. And, even if you're doing a good job and you don't have the right relationships, it will have a negative impact on how your work is perceived. Because more often than not, our work is perceived through the lens of the relationship we have. If I have a very good relationship with my manager and the work I do, even if it's 7 out of 10, it may come across as 9 out of 10. If I don't have a good relationship, if the work that I do, even if in reality is 7 out of 10, it can be seen as 4 out of 10, because the quality of the work, how the work is perceived, is usually through the lens of the relationship you have with the person. And our white counterparts really understand this. This is why sometimes people will say, oh, this person is, what's the word? I don't do politics. Let my work speak for me, all of that. Well, you can't really say that because relationships matter. You have to do the work, but you also have to work on the relationships. So be an excellent value add. And then finally, around just positioning, is also really being a leader. Be a leader. And what do leaders do? Leaders initiate things. You don't wait for things to happen. You're positive, like you're initiating things and making it happen. Okay, so Said, Said and I are connected on LinkedIn, and he reached out to me to ask if I could run this program, right? That's leadership. He's initiating things. So this has come about because Said initiated it. So think about your home workplace. How do you operate at work? Are you someone that's just are you waiting to be asked, or are you dodging stuff, or are you actually driving things? It's important to lead, as opposed to, and you don't have to have a leadership title to lead, right? It's really about disposition. It's really around doing the things I said earlier, around being very present to you, being a problem solver, and also really seeking to be a value add. If you have that mindset, those two things are front of mind, it will naturally cause you to initiate things and make things happen. So that's very, very important. So when it comes to in the context of building our careers, what that means is that, we're asking for opportunities at work. We are reaching out to connect with people. I think I might have been the one that actually reached out to connect with Sahid in the first place at some point to start the LinkedIn relationship. But you're reaching out to people, you're initiating conversations, and you are not, and very important that you're not assuming the worst of people. You don't make your color the front and center and begin to see yourself entirely through your color. I think that's something we have to be mindful of as well. As Black professionals, being minorities, wherever we're working, that you don't become so sensitive to your color that everything is just seen through that lens of your skin color, right? That will not serve us. So we've talked about we're talking about realizing our potential. We've talked about some principles, which are really just ideas and foundations for how we want to be thinking about it. We've talked about things you can do to position yourself. And then finally, we're going to move on to talk about practices for realizing your potential. Practices for realizing your potential. Okay, any questions? Have I said anything that has raised a thought or anything in anyone's mind?
Well, if you permit me, Buki,
Yes.
I think something you said that I know people need to take cognizance of when you mentioned don't see yourself through your skin color. I think that would be a difficult one, particularly for those people that have just relocated to this part of the world.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a point to be highlighted, and it will be good. I don't know if the next thing you want to talk about will address how to avoid this pitfall.
Yeah.
Because for us professionals, sometimes I can speak for myself. You can find yourself in the midst of plenty, and then you see yourself as the only person in that room.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So I know people are facing that same thing.
Yeah.
So it would be good if there's anything that you could tell us on how to avoid it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's also my own experience. So I spent 15 years growing my career. More often than not, I'm usually the only Black person in the room. But I think one of the things we have to face reality. If you left a Black majority country to come to the UK, I think the population, you are going to be a minority. It's not a big deal, right? So I think it's more around this, really, soft conversations to have with yourself. Because if you make it an issue, then it becomes an issue. And the thing with differences, if you focus on our difference, we then begin to see everything through our difference. This is the reason why we don't focus on it. Because clearly, this is it might be a really firm approach or a stern approach, but that's the only way you have to do it. You're living in a country where at least it's still 80% white. In London, if you're in London, yes, it's more diverse. But in the workplaces, it's still not as diverse, except you work in the NHS. In many workplaces, it's not diverse. So you are going to be a minority. It's a fact. But the reality is you go through the door. Right, you go through the door and you demonstrated the skills that showed that you could do the job. So it's really around making a choice to become comfortable in your own skin. Now, I'm fully aware that, initially it may be uncomfortable. So I think the early stages, the discomfort in the early stages, you can't really avoid. You go into somewhere, you're the only Black person. Yes, you might feel uncomfortable, but you have to accelerate how long it takes you to get comfortable. And I think that is by choice. Because if you don't do that, I think it does have the capacity to hold you back. Right? I think so accelerate, make the choice not to focus on it, and rather than focusing on being different, being Black, focus on your goals. Focus on the destination where you're going. That's how I went. That was what I did. I was so driven about where I wanted to get to in my career. Whether I was Black or whatever, it really didn't matter. I didn't think I believed it shouldn't stop me. But in reality, yes, there are going to be obstacles, there are going to be challenges. But then how do I overcome those challenges? So you're not focusing on the color, you're focusing on the task, what you need to do to overcome whatever challenges you have, or what you need to do to capitalize and realize and convert the opportunities you have. Because if you're focusing on the color, it's going to be, your mind can be focused, your mind can only focus on one thing very well. Cool. And when we're thinking so much about our color, it's also thinking about our limitations, because by the time you're thinking I'm the only Black one, naturally, okay, maybe they won't give me the opportunity. Or maybe, I mean, things will happen. I'm not denying there might be actually things that happen that highlights your difference. But my encouragement is address the thing and move on. If you focus so much on your color, it will hold you back. I am I'm sure about that. Divert your focus to your goal, divert your focus to the what you need to do to overcome the barriers or challenges that may be in your way. Did that address the point, Saeed? I don't know if you have any.
No, it did. I just wanted us to have a closure for everybody there on that point. That's very good.
Okay. Right. And I think that is so maybe they can unmute. What is expected of someone who is struggling to present his or an ability in organization? I'm not sure I know. I don't understand what you mean by that. You could unmute and ask the question. If you're struggling.
Yeah, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, what I mean by that, with regards to this, like you said, there will always be, I don't want to use the word, what do they call this? Like being segregating someone because of color or whatever. I've forgotten the English they always use. But what I'm trying to drive out is for someone who knows that probably you have the potential, you have ability and all stuff like that. But due to the fact that, I mean, the organization you find yourself and all stuff like that, you are struggling to make them know that you have, I mean, so potential and all stuff like that. Because for the little time I've spent here, I've worked in some organization whereby even the whites within themselves, they are even having is it beef, or I don't know which English am I supposed to use? I don't even know. So not to talk of Black to white.
Okay.
I don't know if you get what I'm trying to. So
okay, yeah.
In
So
that
the whites are not getting along.
In that situation now, if that kind of a person want to prove his or herself, but for the fact that you are saying that even within the whites, there's an issue. So how are they gonna see you that no? So this guy's doing this, he's doing that, and all stuff like that. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say.
I think so what I understand from that is you're working in an organization and there's tension between your white colleagues, and because of that you think that even that you're Black is going to be harder for you if the white ones aren't even getting along or are struggling. You are going to struggle more.
Something similar, yeah.
For you. Is that right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I think that goes back to what I was saying, because that thinking already puts you on the back foot, because you've gone in there and you said, oh, the whites have an advantage over you, right? Because that's the thinking behind that question. And also the other thinking behind that question is, so because I'm Black, it may be more difficult for me to demonstrate my value. So that's the mindset that I'm going to question, that I'm going to encourage you to. And I know this is, if you have to remember, I'm a coach and I'm not like the ordinary, people that you might talk to. So I come at it from the perspective of how you need to operate in your career, not what is common or what people will say. You can't go in and be already thinking that you're less than. And I think what you have to focus on is not so much proving, it's focus on getting results. So I don't think it's so much about demonstrating your potential, but doing the right thing. So earlier on, I was talking about being a problem solver, being an excellent value add, all the principles of success. You're bringing to play all the principles of success. That's how you are going to demonstrate your potential, and people are going to see that you're different and that you have something extra to add. But if we're going in there and we get caught up in if you're already going in as second-class citizen, I think we're setting ourselves up for second-class experience. That is what I would say to that. And maybe if I carry on, actually, some of what I have to say later on may address some of these points. So I've seen another question from BC, which I will address. But let's do the final the final section, which is around some of the practices that you need to be involved in order to realize your potential. And the number one is you've got to be doing some mindset work. So the question Kehinde just asked was really a mindset question, that you've got to question the beliefs and the perspectives that you hold, because those beliefs and perspectives will drive the meaning and interpretations you're giving to things. So for example, the white folks are not even getting along. How much more me? If they're not supporting each other, how would they support me? I think all of that sets us up for the sort of experiences we don't want. We can also adopt the mindset of, I'm going to do my best and I'm going to find a way to crack this thing. And I'm not just speaking theory. When I started my career, I worked in a place where, you have a bunch of graduates who join. And I realized when we were on the graduate scheme, we were all, getting along, going through the graduate program. But as we moved to the next level, where we became consultants, gaps started showing. Some of my colleagues were getting more experiences. The projects would come in and it would go to them. And I wasn't getting anything. And I wasn't getting... Can you please mute?
Sorry about that. I'll mute James. I don't know.
Okay, and so they were getting experiences, so they were getting exposure, and I had to actually become more vocal. That was where I first had to learn confidence. I was a little bit shy, but I realized actually shyness isn't going to help, and I needed to up my level and understand, well, how am I going to communicate to these guys so that they don't leave me behind? Now, some of it may be clear racism, some of it is also unconscious bias, right? Think about it. Many of these calls, many people on this call are probably Nigerians, right? But it does, and if I go into a room and there are Kenyans, Ghanaians, Nigerians, and Somalians, I'm a Nigerian. Naturally, I will gravitate towards the Nigerian, and we might form a stronger connection. But that happens at work as well, right? Your white colleagues will naturally get along better with their white colleagues. If you don't make additional efforts to build that relationship, to break that barrier, then yes, those relationships, those stronger relationships may work against you. But I coach Black people who are doing well in their career. So if some people can do it, we all can. But it does take work. It takes intention. It takes having the right mindset. So really, really on having the beliefs that you have about yourself, how far you can go because you're Black, all those perspectives. Those are the things that are really, really that can really add to our troubles. Now, we know racism is real. We know prejudice. All of those things exist. But what about the aspect of racism that they don't actually talk about is internalized racism, where you are the way you're seeing yourself, the way you're positioning yourself, the way you're carrying yourself, going in as second-class citizen. You're just opening yourself up to have to to realize what you don't want. There's this thing that says, as a man thinketh so easy. If you think you're second class, well, you're going to end up with second class experience. So that's the thing around this whole mindset work, that you have to be really, really mindful that you are not creating more problems for yourself the way you're thinking around. And if we truly believe that all men are equal, that you have a right to be there, then walk around with your head high. But that won't happen until we truly uncover some of the things that are holding us back. And that's a lot. Many times in my coaching, that's what I'm helping people to do. That actually, because people will tell me, oh, I can't apply for a job, I can't apply for a raise, I won't get it. And then we do some work, and then they apply and they get it, but they already thought they couldn't. So how we think about things is so important. I could talk about this all day, but let's move on, right? So very really, and then when things happen, really be mindful of how you're interpreting it. Another thing that happens is when we're so focused on our skin color, I said earlier, you begin to interpret everything through that. If someone doesn't look at you, or if everything, and then the reality is you can't change that, and it's also limiting, and you can easily take your focus off the right things. You don't work on the areas that you need to work on. You don't see the things that you need to see to change. It's very important that we take ownership. I had this approach. If something is not working, it's my job to make it work. Whether someone has racism or not, I think I feel very strongly that our biggest issue isn't racism. Our biggest issue is standing up to overcome the racism, not allowing the racism to stop us. I think that's a better way to put it. It's not so much overcoming it, but not allowing the racism to stop us. We have to be determined around that. So the other thing is, the mindset work, and then there's also the confidence work. Really becoming a confidence person. A lot of this as well, when you move and you're a minority, if you're not really careful, it's going to dent your confidence. Because naturally you go into a place, you're the only, you're different. It might make you to want to be quieter, all of that, which is why it's really important to wake up, and at least you're hearing this now, that you can't allow your confidence to sleep. In the UK, in all these Western economies, confidence matters, right? How you present, how you come across, it really, really matters. And lack of confidence will stop us from positioning ourselves. It can stop us from speaking up. So really identify, where is your confidence low, and what are the actions that you need to take to build your confidence in this area. You're not just, don't just wait and for things to happen. You have to drive it. So we talked about doing some mindset work, doing some confidence work, and then finally is really, really see yourself as an enterprise. I've seen something on LinkedIn earlier today where everybody should see themselves as a company. But it's really true, right? You are just a one-man band. You're providing services to a single employer. You're in business, unlike me. I'm a coach. I'm coaching several people. I have several clients. If you're an employee, what it really means, you are also in business. But what it means is you have just one client that you are serving. So see yourself as a business unit. You're in the business of you. So you're in the business of serving your skills and talent. So you really need to understand how to market yourself, present yourself properly, recognize how you become more skilled in your area, understand what's going to increase your market value. These are real important things, right? So it's not just about the technical skills. So you're a cybersecurity professional, but if that's all you're focusing on, well, you're just going to stay there. You won't have that much impact, right? You've got to be working on how you come across, your confidence, your communication, your commercial awareness, all the cybersecurity that you're doing. Where is it feeding to? What is it feeding into? What's the larger picture or the larger landscape that you're operating in, right? So really important to understand all of those. Fundamentally, you need to answer the question, how do you need to get better at the business of you? How do you need to get better at the business of you? So if we're going to realize the potential, these are some of the things that we really need to think about. Be clear where you're going, identify where you want to go, and all what have been through are some of the things that you have to walk through. So if I just do a quick recap before I take more questions. You are, you're looking at, you're identifying what you want. You're untangling your thinking, being clear, set yourself on a path. You are learning how the game works. You're learning what it takes to thrive, right? So I'm in a workplace, people are not giving me, maybe they're not giving me opportunities. Like I shared, I had to ask. And it wasn't that you ask once, you go over and over and over until you break through. And sometimes you have to cross over and move to another organization if you're not getting support where you are. So know the game, know how you are going to stand out and add value, know what the industry wants, what the industry appreciates, and become the version that they would appreciate. Because if you're someone, if you're a hiring manager in the UK, most places in the world, I run a business, and everybody will tell you the most difficult thing is finding the right people. Finding the right people to do the job that you want them to do. Yet, isn't it? There are many job seekers. So something is not matching. People are saying, employers are saying, finding talent is a difficult thing. And people that are looking for jobs are saying they can't find a job. It's just because there's a mismatch. Becoming the person that people want to hire, how they want to say it is really important. And then we really talk about focusing on doing those things. And so positioning, being a problem solver. So how do you become the person people want to hire? That's it. Be a problem solver, be an excellent value add, demonstrate that, and be a leader. That is coming through in your interview. So when we are interviewing, it doesn't look as if we're just regurgitating something that we've learned or something someone has told us to say. It's coming out as a lived experience. It's coming out as a lived experience. It's coming from a place of confidence. That's what makes a difference. So people can go to an interview, they say the same thing. One person will come across more powerfully just because of the sense of conviction behind what they're saying, right? And that's an insight thing. It's not about regurgitating what we've read or what we know is the right thing to say. And how do you get there? You might do some work on your mindset, ensuring you're not having beliefs that hold you back. Build your confidence. If your confidence have been damaged because of setback, well, do some work to overcome that, and see yourself as a business person. You're in the business of you, so keep evolving and keep elevating. Okay, so that's it, Saeed. These are the question.
Thank you so much. Mm-hmm. I think I'm getting an echo from somewhere. Okay, stop now. Definitely, this is very useful. Mm-hmm. And there's a special message from Taiwo, a friend. He said, thanks. How do we begin to refocus our success potential from that of an employee to a value creator, biz owner? Surely you also have realized that is the way to pivot and achieve lasting success. I think that I take that as a contribution, not a question.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. I think I like the fact that you mentioned that we should see ourselves as a business as when we are doing stuff. And one thing I tell people during CV review session, I ask this question: can you ask yourself, can I hire me? Assess yourself.
Yeah.
Whether if you are the one to hire somebody, would you be the person you want to hire?
Mm-hmm.
So. And a lot of us, we have different experiences when we came to UK. And like you have portrayed them, different story from everyone that you come across. But definitely you come across this. But it depends on how we are interpreting the conversations to ourselves.
Yeah.
And how we militate against how we work with other people.
Yeah.
So even though you've had bad experiences before, you shouldn't use that brush to paint everybody that they are the same. And one thing I tell people, if you are going through something, you're not the only one.
Yes.
And you are definitely not going to be the last.
Yes.
So how you manage that situation to transit from one point to another depends on you. And I like the way you started with who determines your potential.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's yourself. Nobody will determine it for you.
Yes.
So, and I was listening to one podcast today. Vescovo is the guy's name. And he was talking about mountain climbing, diving in deep sea and all that. One thing that struck me, he said, there was a time it was ascending and it got to a point, it fell. And the guy was now asking, what is your experience with that? He said he thought he would not go back to that passion of his again. But after realizing that this is his passion, he went back. So you can imagine what he said. He now said finally, to just buttress your point, that when you are climbing mountain, when you get to a point, you know that this is your limit. That some people, they'll push beyond that and it leads to death. So we just continue to push.
Yeah.
If you have not died, why give up? That's what I want to say. So thank you very much for that your session. It's really useful. And I don't know if anybody has a question or so to ask Buki before we hear more comment from
question. Yeah, so put that in the chat, or you can raise your hand, and I'll answer that. The other thing that just came to mind as you were speaking is that, we obviously as Black people, we're very sensitive to racism and all of that, but it's also important that we also have to be very aware of our own racism. Right? The fact that because that also, sometimes you can be accusing people of doing something, and then you're also, they see all of us as the same, but then you're also doing the same thing. You're seeing them. So it's very, very important that you don't become guilty of what you're accusing others of, right? I mean, one thing I learned in my career, and it's really important to see people as individuals, really see people as individuals, not part of a group. So, I mean, I remember coaching one lady where she had I would give two examples. She had, she was in an organization that she was happy, things were going well, but she was so afraid of racism because of all the things she had read online. So she wasn't comfortable. So not that the people were not nice to her or anything, but because of the things that she had read. There was another person as well who just, because she'd had a bad experience with one white female manager, going to another job, it was another white female manager, and she was just on heightened alert. So that's when we really have to be careful that we're not carrying baggages, because that is just going to open doors. There's this, that as a man think it's so easy. So if you're thinking, that is really, really important. So BC said we haven't answered a question.
Yes, we haven't. I was about to read the question to you because I scrolled there. Okay. She said, lack of confidence in speaking with other departments. My experience has lowered my self-esteem in communication. At some point, my manager once said, language is a problem. How do I deal with this?
Right. Okay. Yeah. So that's also a common thing, right? I remember, I'm a fluent English speaker, and there'll be times when I get into work and then I begin to stammer, and the words are not just coming, and that's just a product of maybe your pressure, and you've said it's a lack of confidence. Okay, so what I think with confidence, a lot of the thing is with confidence is two people can have confidence problems and their solution may be different. Why? Because it depends on what is underneath their lack of confidence. So I think basically if you want to reach out for a call to understand what's underneath your lack of confidence, and then you can unpack that. Because over the course of my work as a coach, I've spoken to different people. Some people is just the inherent belief, they think they're not good enough. If you're going around thinking you're not good enough, or you think, you might be found out, of course your confidence is going to be low. You won't be able to speak. Some people is the fact that they're so conscious of their accent. And that just, again, if you're so conscious of your accent, there's nothing you can do about it. What you need to be focused on is speaking clearly. All right. So that's different from accent. So there's so many things that can be underneath that you just need to unpack, and then you can know the way forward. And one of the things, I think I'll share this framework with you, actually, around, and basically, I don't know, did that answer your question? So, and the other part about your own self-esteem, one of the things we always think about is, the reality is things happen to us, but it's always our own interpretation and how we relate to the things. That's really what affects us. So my manager might have said something really hurtful to me and stuff, they say to one person, it just washes off them. Another person, they say to the person, it sticks. It just depends on who we are. So it's understanding how am I, if something has stuck to me, well, I need to get it unstuck. So it's understanding what has this. It's almost like a magnet, right? If someone walks up to me now and calls me a man, I know who I am. So calling me a man will have no impact on me. If they call me that, and it now it gets me offended, I get wound up. I always say, like, what is the magnet that is in me that the thing has stuck to? Because if there's nothing for it to stick to, it won't stay. So it's always what's going on within us that allows this thing to impact us, right? What your manager says to you should not really be impacting your own esteem. So it's like, okay, how do I get my self-esteem to be in a more grounded place that is not dependent on what this random person has said? Because the moment I leave this organization, this person, their words hold no value anymore. They have no power. So I don't know if that answered your question, BC. So one final thing I will share with this is kind of like a framework. If you're thinking about, talking earlier around your next, is that coming through? No.
Yeah, it's coming through. I can see your screen.
Are you seeing a chat or somewhat?
Yes, the chat.
Okay, yeah, okay. So this is the chat. So if you think about it, if you're looking about elevating your career, you want to go to the next level, whatever the next level is for you. Well, number one is you need to get clear, right? What are your priorities? What's the direction? Where do you want to go? Get clear on that, right? This is the next step. Well, where is that going to lead to? Have an idea of that. And then you go and build your capacity. You're coming to a session like this. This is all around building capacity, right? I've talked about mindset, increasing your soft skills. Soft skills are really, really critical. The confidence, the communication, the leadership, all of that. Those are all soft skills. Increasing that's around expanding your capacity so that the thing you've defined where you want to get to becomes possible, because we can have as much lofty goals as we want, except we become the person that can get it, except we start operating at the frequency of the person that can get it. It's just not going to happen, right? And then confidence, right? How do I elevate my confidence so that I make it possible? Let's say, I don't know, you're a cybersecurity professional, you want to become cybersecurity manager. Well, a cybersecurity manager will operate differently, right? So how are you going to build your confidence so that when you walk into a room, even they're seeing you as someone that can do that role? And then I spoke a lot around this when we're talking around building relationships, really important in the Western economy. People will see your work through the quality of the relationships you have with them. So prioritize this, not just work, but actually get your head up and talk to people. So again, think about where you want to get to. What are some of the relationships that we need? So for example, you're trying to break into the cybersecurity industry. Well, you're in the right place. You've got Saeed to help you. So it's really, but who else do you need? Or what else might you need, right? So you're really building the relationships that, I've known people that have gotten jobs just because they reached out to someone on LinkedIn. Or they've gotten jobs because they were vocal. They managed to speak to someone that knew someone. So it's like you're really, really taking steps to explore what are the relationships around me that I can utilize. And then really effectively marketing and selling yourself, that whole advocacy. But we do know that some of our work environments are not really, people are not nice. If people are not nice, people can set you up for failure, where you really, really have to practice self-advocacy, know when to speak. I was still speaking to someone this week where they were having issues at work. They spoke up too late. And even they got sacked. Whereas if they had dealt with the issue earlier, they might have avoided things deteriorating. So there's a place, and then this is very important when we're speaking to people who are new to the country, that don't just keep quiet if things are not working or if things are not going well. You do want to be vocal, because if you speak up too late, then it may actually work against you. But it's not just speaking up; it's doing it in the right way that would not make the problems bigger. And so conflict, how you navigate blocks, which again will happen. So this is like a framework for thinking about, I'm at point A, I want to get to point B. These are all the things, some of the things that you need to really think about to move you on. And these are all the areas that I coach on. So just wanted to share that if it's of interest to anyone. And obviously I do I do coaching in this area. So if everything is helpful, then if anything I've shared is helpful and you want to delve further into it, then feel free to reach out for coaching.
Yeah, thank you so much, Buki. I'm about to talk about that. If you
Okay.
know what you've heard today is of value to you, because what we bring every time we bring someone to speak with us, it's all about value. So now you've heard from Buki what she does. I appreciate that, and that's why I reached out to her and said, "Can you do this for the community, and let's engage them?" Because we have people that have come to our training. I see a lot of people. They talk to me, and I know what they are passing through. Some people, they will go for an interview. It's only one interview they will go for. Some they will try many before they get it. Some are even afraid. They don't want to go for interview at all. I can tell when they're telling me, you know. So, and we coach them through CV, even coach them through interview, how to say it and all that.
Yeah.
So I'm not dabbling into your own area of coaching. The coaching I'm talking about is cybersecurity now. So
Yes, no, totally.
yeah, so what I'm trying to say is we have Buki here. She can help us in that area.
Yeah.
If you don't know how to reach out to her, let me know. I would connect you guys on how to reach out. This is what she does. And I mean, coming to her, she understands where you're, the place, or I mean, where you're coming from and where you want to go. That is the most important thing that we are talking about today. So if you think you are interested, okay, she sent a LinkedIn profile, you can connect with her. She's there. So there's nothing hidden at all. But if you miss all that she has shared here, you can reach out to me and I will connect you with her again. So that is it. So that's how we bring out values to our community and to just share like we normally do. We know we talk about businesses that we're supporting. Last week we talked about the digital skills that we said we want to train people from age 12 and above is still up for take. We know on the 15th, that's how we said this discount will go away. So this is to prepare our children for the future. The job landscape is changing, like we talked about last week, according to World Economic Forum survey and their findings. By 2030, about 92 million jobs will be created, which are going to be new. 78 of them will be 78 million of them will be replaced. So definitely about how many? 170 million jobs. Please, who is that? Keep yourself on mute, please. All right. So we said 170 million jobs will be created, and 78 out of those will be new. 92 will be replaced. 92 million. So prepare your children for the challenges that is like they are saying in 2030. Add 5 years to your child's age. You know what we mean. So prepare them. And today we've dealt with this. We'll let you know who's going to come next. And that's our calendar, our diet for the training. That's the next one that we're going to start in April. And as you know, Tekido, if you want to do your designs, logo design, banner, social media, and the likes. And that's Value Remit, as you know, we talk about them all the time. If you want to send money, you can use our promo code PREFORT. If we send £100, they give you £10. You have to send £100 first. So you can take a screenshot of this that I'm showing you. And then if you don't know how to get them, come back, we'll guide you. And Nice Guys sells laptops. And if you want to buy, take a screenshot of that too and reach out to them. These are the people that we trust. They have businesses. We know them. Let's make our businesses grow. So, and we brought you Buki today again too. If you need coaching in any way, shape or form that you think so, please reach out. She's shared her LinkedIn profile. Let's support what she does so that she can help us to navigate through our difficulties. And without any further ado, I want to appreciate everyone for joining. And I want to profoundly appreciate Buki for saying yes to my invitation to share with the community. And I believe you have really enjoyed our community as well. And I hope and believe that definitely they will come to you for service, and then it will be a good experience that we can serve for a long time. So on this note, I want to say thank you to everybody for joining. we'll get in touch again and let you know who else